hated this since, despite the controversy and despicable conditions. So basically, they're like, listen, yeah, there'll be some kids around, some of them shaking, shouting, trying lights at them fast. Some of them trying to eat their own thirst pills for test contacts and right guys. And it worked. But I got people who were just like, okay, well, that's all the proof. That's all the proof you need right there. Patients were separated into 3 groups at Letchworth, but all 3 terms were used in a clinical setting for psychological classifications and were defined with a well-defined set of limitations and abilities. So the 3 sectors that go as follows: idiots, okay, which was the mental capacity will never exceed an out of people. That's apparently the definition of an idiot. Imbecile, which was idiot and maximum mental capacity of a 7-year-old, and a moron, similar to an imbecile, but will not exceed the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. These are youths. The price of kids. So, Greg, you're not going to come for a moron. You're a whack job. That's the medical terms at Harvard. You will not be seeing your family ever again. But also, so he's going to be giving a series of vaccines to you, even though you're not sick. So that's going to be good for you. Many of the patients were unclothed because after a while, people just had gowns and stuff. It got so popular that they were just like, I don't even want to talk about this anymore, guys. I don't think it was possible. A lot of people were they're just naked walking around, shitting themselves, and having unbelievable. Or, like many facilities, it was crowded, facilitated from a widespread disease like polio, tuberculosis, and many other conditions. Which facility the size of Letchworth is necessitated having their own morgue, which in turn made a need for ways to transport the bodies. A death chute. How do you commission that? How do you have a contract with it? So we're needing a tube to produce these nutcases that are going to No, we got tons of wackos. We're going to need a death chute right here. It's going to go right into our own furnace room, which has now been deemed the morgue. About it's a cemetery with about 900 graves, mostly child size. Not a single name was left to describe them. All of the 900 people, but none of them had any names, just the file numbers and Letchworth. There's your son, 0744. They slip up to the cemetery and figure out for a while. Now they tombstone just got like Zynga pockets. Like when I was in the ground, it was stuck. But the 30 people were maritime practice that many assignments were allowed to it. There was crazy vegetative state basically. Chemical and surgical lobotomies were performed by hammering a long metal plate, which in this case was a literal ice pick from the original surgeon's chin. It would go through the optic socket, through the bone, and into the brain. Surgical lobotomies would use a neuroleptic between the prefrontal cortex. Surgical lobotomies merely severs that connection physically. You either want to have some nice funny juice that makes you go to sleep, or do you want the nice big ice pick that makes you go to sleep? I probably would want chemical, right? Yeah. Like, man, just stop it, put it up right there. Fuck that. What's it going to be? They do. Yeah, like that. That'd be terrible. It's the cortex patients with infection or malpractice. But the multi-level hits of the hammer, that's malpractice. Okay? I think about it. It's like people were trying to find this stuff that I'm like, let's reset. So initially involved the side of the skull. This is about surgery, but what do you want? This guy used an ice pick from his own patient. But there's like a more than 18 ice pick. It's a sort of like global difference. It's not. With or without anesthesia. Freeman suggested using electroconvulsive therapy to render the patient unconscious before doing it. What I want to be humane. Please put these 4 blood batteries on the back of his chair. Just give a couple shots. Throw us into a coma? Perfect. Let's begin. The surgery had no active benefits other than making more hostile patients that were like repulsive and stuff. It just made them more quiet, made them more still, and just emotionally numb all around. It's not that it would necessarily stop them from hitting themselves. They would just be in a vegetative state. In 1950, the procedure was banned in the Soviet Union. The U.S. has never officially banned them, though they were said to be rare since the 1980s. Several states have banned ban them then. Russia said, that's a bit too much. Out of the world, let Russia say that. And we were just like, I mean, come on. We haven't officially banned them. We haven't really done it since the 80s. It's still kind of crazy. Which also makes you think, are these practices still in use today? Electroshock therapy? Which electroshock therapy is? For those hysterical women. That's how the military make. We're going to get into that, though, don't worry. Many female patients were abused in that facility by care persons, employees, or other patients. Many children were born and quietly adopted out. How nice is that? You have a patient who's pregnant, and all of a sudden they're just like, you think that the doctors were pocketing some of that money? There's no way it was official. They're just like, we've got a fresh batch of babies up here. And just give me $30. Some of these photos are fucking crazy. What's crazy too is a lot of these asylums, like some of the pictures we're looking at here, they're just still standing today. They're just kind of boarded up, whatever, but you could go inside and there's still just a bunch of shit that's left over. It's pretty crazy. That was Letchworth. On to the next happy place. The name of the hospital is Several's Hospital. There's not several hospitals. Kind of confusing, but that's just the way it is. Show a picture here. Look at that. I'd love to be insane here. Right? It was opened in 1910 in Essex, England. The 300-acre site was the second asylum to be established in Essex. You have your hiccups the first time around, second time you do it right. In the 1950s, patients were used in psychiatric experiments with the common theme of phlebotomy. Classic. The definition of psychiatric conditions at the time permitted pregnant women to be classified as unable to perform daily tasks. So having a child outside of wedlock was a suitable reason to be admitted as insane. Think about that. I would say the majority of pregnancies I ever hear about are accidents, right? Just trying to have a good time. All of a sudden you have a baby. Now you're insane. Which, to me, this translates to a bunch of rich people fucking around on the side with their mistresses, whatever. They get pregnant. Then they're like, your kid's here. They're just like, you're crazy. So you're up to a little bit. And they give them like 15 quid. They give him 15 pounds and send her a fuck the Essex guy, eh? I put some goofies in a minge. Send her up the Stavros, would you? And hey, here's an ice pick along the way. I feel like that's actually a much darker time, but I do feel like that unironically happened probably a lot. They were noted to have been subjected to electroconvulsive therapy and lobotomy just because they had a pregnancy out of wedlock. That's a bit harsh to me. We don't see that in Planned Parenthood now. I feel like we've outgrown that, thankfully. As with most facilities of this nature, it suffered from being chronically understaffed. Severals, however, dealt with this by sedating patients with formaldehyde in order to keep them under control. Much like mothers in the 80s and 90s used NyQuil to get little me time. Remember that when you were younger and you're just like, God, trust me, I think you have a fever. Here, take this NyQuil. And all of a sudden you're sedated for 2 days and mom gets to drink her red wine and watch Sex in the City. I'm more of a Carrie. No, I'm more of a Miranda. Said no fucking person ever. No one ever wants to be Miranda from that show. You ever watch Sex and the City? Good show. Formaldehyde is used to treat certain convulsive disorders. It also has been used in treatments of alcoholism, the treatment of nervous and mental conditions to calm and relax patients. So basically, it's another thing that just like subdues people. A patient with what was believed to be Tourette's, who made clicking noises with her tongue, was encouraged to have her tongue removed to discourage behavior. Once again, I like to think that all these doctors always look at the clipboards and they're just like, okay, when Rebecca keeps clicking, go to my office and grab an old pair of scissors. I think we're going to have to remove her tongue. We're going to put her in the nincompoop section next to the Neanderthals. Rebecca, are you having a good day? She's like, enjoy your snack pack. Cut that bitch's tongue out of me. Due to lack of staff, patients were said to be lined up against the walls and hosed in lieu of proper bathing. No more shower time. Literal just hosing. All right, they're clean. I'm pretty sure they're clean. It's all right. Depends on the hose, too. If it's like a fire hose, that shit could, like, peel your skin. Good God. During World War I, it was used to house soldiers who experienced shell shock. Though we now know this as PTSD, it was considered a medical condition you could be given electroshock therapy and lobotomization for. You watch your friend die in war? See somebody get cut in half? See somebody get disemboweled? Maybe an ice pick up your nose? Maybe a couple of bolts of lightning to your head. Feel better now? Now they're just subdued. They can't express themselves, but it's just nightmares in their head. And the doctor's just like, look how much calmer he is. And you're just like, the culture inside of Severals, from the medical superintendent Russell Barton himself, was said that every patient suffered two conditions: their original condition and something we define institutional neurosis. Okay, big words. He described the environment itself as dangerous. So even the medical superintendent himself said this is a dangerous place to be. You're going to come in with something and you're going to also pick up something else because this place is so haunting. Severals kept one locked ward for women who were promiscuous by reason of mental illness alone. They like to have dirty sex because they were trouble beings to begin with, is what they're saying. They got dirty horses and they have dirty brains. That's what they have written on the wall. That was like a sign. They'll take your shoes off. These women have dirty horses, therefore dirty minds. The doctor's just like, perfect. Can we get a light, more light on that? won't be able to read that down the hallway. Despite the intention for this to keep promiscuous women from having sex, it did not stop the activity. It was known activity for male employees to obtain female patients after they were given electroconvulsive therapy. When they were of diminished capacity, a social worker at the time defined the occurrence as a bit dirty. That's disgusting, Nick. Do we put this in the video? That it happened. I mean, it did happen. They would say, oh, these women who like to have sex, we're going to give them electroshock therapy, and then the staff would take advantage of those people. And then social workers would come, and in a report just said, it's a bit dirty. You kind of hope there would be a bit, I guess, a bit more. It's not even like a thing where they're just like, I don't agree with this at severals. Instead, it's just like, it's a bit, come on, guys. The common theme among these institutions seems to be lobotomies, the use of electroconvulsive therapy, and rampant overcrowding and understaffing. This actually looks haunting. Severals Hospital looks like a fucking maze. It's like a giant castle. It's like a labyrinth. I can't even imagine some of the, there's that great scene at the end of Amadeus. So the guy tries unaliving himself in the movie. At the end, they take him to a hospital, but they also take him to an asylum because they think he's gone mad. So as he's going around, it's just like severely overcrowded. The sounds and like the chaos. I've always wondered how true that is. Because in some movies, you kind of get it both ways. You have the Amadeus thing where it's like absolute chaos, and there's other movies where it's like hauntingly quiet. It's like a weird juxtaposition. If it's earlier in time, it's more chaotic because they didn't know how to lobotomize or, basically just like shock people into being in an agitated state, and then if it's newer,
leave it to a blind man to see what's right in front of him. Of course, I haven't seen it.
Us into our third stop, the New Jersey State Lunatic Asylum. What a name, dude.
I'm afraid I won't make them any easier.
Drop your fucking wackos off
that
here.
horse.
Thanks.
You can't. First Persephone takes my sight, and then you take Orphe. Our friendship was instant. I heard the neigh of a fierce horse. I approached him, unafraid, and he licked my palm.
Kennedy's is Jackie Kennedy, the woman who eats sheet metal. That's like one of my favorite. Anyways, the New Jersey Lunatic Asylum first opened in 1848, but has since been closed and reopened several times. In 1907, Dr. Henry became a medical director. Understood that patients experience mental illness as a direct consequence of disease. As a metal, there's like something biological attacking you, and that's what's making you mentally disturbed. That's what bioterrorism.
Any of us
It's like some umbrella
in
shit.
a realm that boasts perfection but shows only deceit, have pity. Let
Dr.
him
Cotton
stay
was a
with
great
me.
guy. He would order staff to remove teeth and other body parts from patients to limit infection. Until 1960, it was common practice to remove a patient's
Little
teeth.
do you know
Is
that
it just
this
to
is
literally
Hades'
stop the
horse.
spread of infection? What if Dr. Cotton was just like,
don't
the
care.
tooth fairy was real, and that was
I
the
would
deal? I'm
risk
finding that a lot of
even
these
Hades'
crazy,
punishment
wacko,
for
insane
Orphe.
patients seem to be
Mark
harboring
my
a lot of
words.
infection in the teeth. You
I
should remove
won't
them.
forget
Give them
you.
to me. And in his office, he just had a giant bed with a huge pillow, and there's just like mounds of teeth underneath it. And he's like, I'm about ready to have the biggest payday.
Whoa!
The center of the whole monster of Dr. Cotton and his practices.
You
His
are one
determination to
impressive
remove
beast.
any and all erroneous organs made a monster that legends still linger today. His policies, while barbaric, also had some progressive standards. While he did remove people's teeth and removed organs, and he was a horror character and villain, he did have some positive and progressive practices at the time, which one of the big ones was he eliminated most of the use of mechanical restraints, like being strapped down, any kind of things where it's like people can't move and you're just confined to a certain area all day.
Off we
He
go.
said, do away with it, which, if you have no arms, legs, or teeth, you really don't need to be strapped down, right? 2, he had daily meetings with staff to communicate patient charts. He actually tailored them. And lastly, he instituted occupational therapy. So he actually did try to have people come in and talk to these people after being traumatized, which also, I bet you anything, he would grab them by the fucking ropes and he'd be like, to confuse and try to get him with them to the tooth fairy. Josh is like, because he has a fucking lobotomy and no fucking teeth. He's like, good boy.
I need to take this
This is
horse.
an obsession. Dr. Cotton had an obsession with Kellogg studies, in particular the no-nut practice. Kellogg believed that jacking it was an illness and a proper diet would stop it. I love that old-timey thinking. Well, if you just eat the cornflakes, you won't want to nut all the time. What the hell is up with this country with people nutting all over the place? You know what? We need to put an end to this. In Dr. Cotton's quest to remove illness from his patients, the teeth were standard procedure to remove, but what would be beyond that were the tonsils, adenoids, and the sinuses. That is fucking great. Removing someone's sinuses? Why? Holy shit, what a fucking nut job. If removing all those things didn't cure the patient's mental illness, he'd go after the spleen and the gallbladder. Stomachs and colons had to go as well. Basically, you would just need to be like, okay, if I don't pretend to just act how he wants me to act, motherfucker's gonna play, Operation on me all day. Alright, well, with the teeth. He still seems to cry. Odd. Due to his sinuses, he still seems to weep and feel sad. But we're going to take his big toes and intestines. I think that's where the infection probably lies. He performed these procedures himself despite not being trained to do so. The man should not be around a surgeon table at all. And yet he's plucking out these things left and right. What the hell is going on here? Experimented on patients by injecting bacteria from their own organs back into them and injecting them with horse blood serums. This is witchcraft. Dr. Cotton is because there's got to be a horror movie on this guy. And it is said he operated on thousands of people, including his own sons, Adolf and
He's a special
Henry
horse
Jr.
and belongs to
Thomas.
Hades. That's who he needs to return to. Persephone told me you could get him there.
It's because Persephone knows I can ride any horse anywhere. I'll take it from here.
Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 8:13 p.m.
Alexa, what is the weather forecast for tomorrow?
Here's the forecast for tomorrow. Look for thunderstorms, with a high of 80 degrees Fahrenheit and a low of 59 degrees.
Come on.
Good news, I take it. I know Hades will be missing his beast.
I found him, and took him to your stable boy like you asked.
You have no idea the trouble you've saved me. You've earned my favor.
Away we go! Come on. Come on.